Hey, how's it going, everybody? I told you I would get back to talk about one of the movie sequels, and it's American Tail 3. And the Treasure of Manhattan Island. And I don't want to get copyrighted by Universal, so I'll just show you scenes from the film. After me talking about American Tail 5 Goes West, I think it's time for me to continue from all the movies so far. This third one was okay to me. I actually like this one. This film came out, it's supposed to be released in 1998, but it was released in the early 2000s. The DVD of it came out in 2003. So basically this film is about not only our beloved mouse, Fievel Mousekewitz, but Tony, which is Fievel's close friend, which only shown for the first movie and made a cameo in the second movie, is actually now important. And in America, which they live in now, on that Mr. Mousekewitz himself, aka Fievel's father, gets like two or more than both jobs but three to make lots of money and work for their bosses. This movie's not as silly as the first 1 and 2 movies so far. So basically the film is about, as you can tell from the cover, or in the female antagonist, her trend. Fievel's love interest of an Indian and girl, where they live underground, which they call Manhattan Island. This one is kind of like almost like similar to The Land. No, like that movie. Fievel Goes West with all the Indians, but not as too racial stereotypes. It kind of reminds me of Disney's Pocahontas too. Journey to the New World, that they want to look at the newest worlds. And there's like these free business leaders, which I forgot to mention that one of them are voiced by legendary Tony Jay himself. R.I.P. that he's not around anymore. And they find, if Indians are dangerous to them, they will invade their homeland, and they want to keep it that way in their America. It's been like that since the very beginning, the 1890s. I almost forgot to mention that Tony himself gets a job, and that he's almost never related, almost got fired, but thanks to Mr. Mousekewitz, I'll make sure he stays on track on his job. The only way they're going to make lots of money is finding the legendary treasure in an abandoned subway. They also meet the professor in his rather assistant Scuttlebutt. Yes, that's his name. And to find a hidden treasure underground and found a map. Once they go underground, they find all the legendary treasure they ever wanted. It's nothing more than food for themselves and old ancient artifacts. And the Indian leader himself hopefully explains that the reason why they live underground is them because of Tiger himself as a cat. Bunch of cats scared him away. But Five will make sure she'll be part of their world and their world on how peaceful it really is. But it's not all is what it turns out to be. That these master leaders, so-called friends of the working mouse, want to make sure they want to keep their country just the way it is. And there's Chief Murbright himself, a police officer, mouse leader that wants to make sure everything's all on tight. That Mr. Mousekewitz stays low and not cause trouble, and wants to make sure nothing else goes wrong, and make sure their people stay in their jobs perfectly fine. But if they step out of line, they get punished for it. And they had to find one of them that are traitors. For instance, since they're back to our own kind. And thanks to Mr. Mousekewitz himself, that not all of them aren't as bad as what they seem. And they are trustworthy and kind-hearted into America that earn their own freedom. I will not spoil too much for the whole entire movie. You have to see for yourself that this film existed for a reason, because they had to spend all their cash. As that Universal made a lot of these movies for a reason, because of all the films we got so far, or since the mid-90s and early 2000s, are the Land Before Time trilogy movies. I mean, there was a lot of them. I will get to pretty soon. Trust me, I'll get to them very soon. I'm not going to give too much away, those of you who haven't seen this film yet. It's not as long as most movies are. Give me a second. Despite American Tail only has like 4 movies, this Land Before Time has like this many movies. Look at that. There's all 14 of them. That's insane. As long as they don't remake it into a live-action movie, I'm okay with these ones. Sort of. So, hold on. I'm going to explain about the car show needs of the film existing. Just because they have to spend all that money's worth is pretty much the reason why that kids love the American Tail films, for obvious reasons. That the reason why they had to stop making them, including the 4th and final one called Mystery of the Night Monster, is because they cost a lot of budget just to afford all these animation scenery. Plus, they kind of reuse some of the other soundtracks around like the Land Before Time movies. As you can tell from this animation of the film, since 1991 of American Tail 5 Goes West, the animation looks a little bit different from its actual style. The characters are still the same as they are, or since the 80s and 90s and now the 2000s, the film does have some good progress of voice acting. It's not a terrible film, but it does have some what's the word for it? Personal like a violence like this one. Yeah. That's pretty dramatizing to show that in a kid's film. And what's the word for it? It's a bit special. Ultimate actual of Indians and Americans not working together, but they have to because they share as one as royal friendship and kind, lovingly heartwarming to each other. I say this film is worth seeing. And go ahead and take a good look at it, and you'll see for yourself on why this film is beloved by lots of children out there. That's all I can say about this film. It just has a simple plot of them finding treasure, which turns out to be lots of food and all that stuff. Blah 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 blah. Don DeLuise still voices him before he passed away. And Glasser still voiced Fievel since then. So all I can say is, go ahead and check it out for yourself, and you'll see what I mean about this film's wonderful soundtrack, and most likely, what's the word for it? Good progress. This has one of the most creative, interesting ideas they ever come up with since the early 2000s. And I'll get to the very last one as soon as possible. Give this movie an 8 out of 10. Natural needs of the Americans and Indians are being the most friendship of, what's the word for it? What do you call it? Basic connection as one.